Okie dokie. Good morning, scopers. Good morning, scopers. Hey, Tina. So glad you guys joined the scope. So we're talking come from a little different angle today. Hey there. Kaylin. Good morning, Kaylin. So glad you guys are jumping on the scope today. We're coming from a little different angle today, y'all. I had somebody ask the question. Hey there, good morning, good morning, morning. I had someone ask me a question on Facebook the other day talking about, kind of like just trying to find that line between how do I show kindness and demonstrate the love of Christ without like just overdoing it, like being team doing the most. So I just wanted to spend a little time talking about that. So hope you guys are enjoying this beautiful Monday morning. I'm so excited to be sharing. I have a couple of notes here, so I'll be kind of looking down to share with you on this morning. And I know some of you may be at work and just kind of got an earbud in or just listening in. But for those of you that can engage, I encourage you to engage. That's one thing that's cool about Periscope. Hey there, where are you scoping from? Let me know where you're scoping from and who you are. So glad you all are joining the scope today. Oh, from Miami. Okay. Miami is in the scope center. And Ravenel. Good morning, Tiffany. So, hey, let me just spend some time telling you about, I already told you what I'm talking about, but let me tell you who I am in case this is your first time scoping in. And I'm scoping from my auto, as you can see. So my name is Joe Bullock, and I'm one of the founders of DetourMovement, Inc., where we believe when you renew your mind, you transform your entire life. I also help women to make the right choice in regards to their dating relationships so they can attract and keep healthy, happy love that leads to a lasting marriage. So for all those who are first time, welcome Ravenel. So glad that you decided to check out this scope. If this resonates with you, be sure to follow this scope. DetourMovement have various people that scope each day, Monday through Saturday, just to give you some morning inspiration, encouragement, and kind of get you started to a good day. So hey, Sammy, thanks so much for joining. So as we know, as believers, that the Word of God talks about kindness and the fruit of the Spirit, right? It talks about that in Galatians 5:22-23. But before I even go there, I just want to share a couple of stories about how this even came about and why am I talking about it today. So, like I mentioned, somebody had made a comment on Facebook asking about this. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I cannot respond to a Facebook comment. I need to do a scope in regards to this, because I don't know if any of you can resonate with the notion of being too nice, resonate with the notion of like people taking your kindness for weakness, right? I had the craziest situation that happened to me just the other day, talking about somebody taking your kindness for weakness. So random situation. I'm getting out my car trying to get some Panda Express, which I had no business, but I had it a long time and I wanted some. So I'm headed over to Panda Express, and before I can get out my car, this guy's like, excuse me. I'm like, oh my God. He kind of scared me and knocked me off, a little bit to the left. I'm like, oh my God. And he was like, ma'am, he started telling me this whole story about how his brother was in the hospital at Walter Reed Hospital, and how his wife and kid was, how his wife and kid was on the freeway and he needed help for gas. So I'm like, okay, Walter Reed, I'm familiar with that. And he's saying he got stuck in traffic, and I can relate to that because traffic is real. And if you don't have enough gas, if it says 100 miles to empty, 5 miles later, you will be empty, fooling with the traffic in this area. So I totally resonate with that. So I told him, hey, I can help you out. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can give him a couple of dollars for gas, whatever he needs, no problem. And I have a gas thing in my trunk. So I told him I can help you with that. So long story short, I told the guy I can help him, but he's like, oh, okay. I said, we can go right across the street and I can get you some gas and you can be on your way. And he was like, okay, let me go somewhere to try to get a bigger gas tank thing. So I'm going to need a lot of gas. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, well, you do that. I'm going to run to get me something to eat. So I went and get something to eat, and I was in line forever. So like 15 minutes later, I'm like, the guy never came back. I'm like, he know I was going to help him. Why wouldn't he come back? So I said, you know what, after I got my food, I went around the parking lot and I'm looking for this guy. Cause I'm just like, did he really need help? Cause I'm compassionate, right? If he really needs help, I want to help him. So I'm looking around. I can't find this guy nowhere. So I finally saw him and he saw me, but I don't know if he knows that I saw him. So he just started like speed walking, almost running to the other side of the parking lot. Then I'm like, and even though when he never came back, I was suspicious. Like, this guy really doesn't need anything. You know what I mean? He was just trying to run game, and he was really just trying to take my kindness for a weakness. But in that moment, and even now, when people do ask for things, I don't necessarily just, okay, he asking for gas money, give him $20. Right. Right. You have to assess the situation. You have to allow that spirit of discernment to rest with you and to guide your actions and your thoughts. And the funny thing I thought, because I didn't know at first I believed him. Maybe called me a sucker. At first I believed him and I was going to help him. And I was only going to put gas in that gas tank. I was going to give him more money so he can come back to the gas station to put more gas in his car. So anyway, and the funny thing I noticed is that I was sharing this story with my husband. Before I even got 30 seconds into the story, he already knew it was a scam. Good morning, Wendy, right? Before I even got 30 minutes into the story, my husband knew that was a scam. And the funny thing is, I told somebody at my at my investor shop, aka my job, I had told this guy about it, and 15 minutes into the story, he already knew where I was going with this. And I said, that's crazy. How did I not know? And, they saw this right away. What we have to remember is, for all my women that are on the scope today, that we are, I hate to say the weaker vessel, but in a sense we are. And we do have that sense for compassion and that sense to care for people. So sometimes we can be easily lured into doing something easily, you know what I'm saying? Get caught up and bring into doing something that may not, be the best thing for us, or where people may be trying to take advantage of our Christian, or, us being compassionate. They may try to play on that, right? Because even let's just go back for a moment. When you talk about Adam and Eve, who did Satan go to tempt? He didn't go tempt the guy, because he know that he didn't go tempt him. He went to go tempt the woman, right? And he went to tempt her because he knew that she was the weaker vessel. He knew that he could play on her compassion and, her being a little gullible to try to get her to do what she wanted to do. So we have to keep that in mind as women, that all the women on the scope and the guys on the scope even, we just have to keep that in mind, that we can't just, he got to her emotions, right? They try to appeal to your emotional side. So I have a couple of things I want to distinguish between being nice and showing kindness, because it's a difference. When you're too nice, that's really just overextending yourself, always saying yes. I saw your comment earlier. Somebody posted a comment saying having the need to please. That's when you get into, you overextend yourself. And I can remember one situation where I had a competition, or somewhere I had to be at a certain time, and it's something that was really important to me, and somebody wanted me to do them a favor, and I really didn't have the capacity to do them the favor, but I tried to squeeze it in anyway, right? And then before you know it, I was running late and I was frustrated, and everything was just like, oh my God. I just started crying. Like I was on the 805 freeway in San Diego, California, and I'm crying because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I made a commitment to do something for somebody. Why did I do that? I don't have the time, the energy is just going to take too much. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you can start deciphering. If you're saying yes to people, to do things, favors for people, that's not necessarily showing kindness. That is doing too much. That is overextending yourself, and it's not healthy. It is not healthy to do that. You have to know what is your capacity. Like I always like to say, you have to take this your life is like a plate. And you have to know how many things you can contain in that plate at any given time. You just can't keep adding and throwing things on your plate when you don't have the capacity to do so. So that's the thing. Overextending yourself is not necessarily kindness. That's not wise, because it can cause you stress. Right. And not only women have the need to please, men does have the need to please as well. Why does that even come up? Because, the way we were created, we all want acceptance. And sometimes that need to be acceptance and the fear of being rejected cause us to overcommit and not be able to say no. So it's just so important that we are able to do that, and we are able to say, okay, if somebody's asking me to do something for them, do I have the time? Do I have the energy? And do I have the resources? If any of those are no, then there's not that time for you to give. There's different times and seasons for you to do things. And in that moment, that may not be the time, and that may not be the season for you to take action. So you have to keep that in mind. I want to give you 3 points about what really is kindness and how is that different, because it comes from codependent spirit, childhood trauma. It can, and even to me, you're saying trauma, but to me, I also take that as, you know, just having situations where you have been rejected, you have been abandoned in your life, whether that's from a father, sometimes if your father's not there, from a mother, from boyfriend relationships, just feeling like people, you know, you go to people and you try to do things to try to win them over. We're no longer doing that. I like to say we have to be okay with who we are and how God has created you to be, and be okay either way if people accept you, reject you, not about how much deeds and how much work you do for them. God didn't even require us to do that. Right? It's all about the condition of your heart with him. So we want to hold people to the same standard. So there's 3 things I want to say that's really showing kindness. Showing kindness really has to do with your mannerism. You know, it's kind of like your tone and how you talk to people, right? It's just treating people like you want to be treated. That's showing kindness. That's showing the fruit of the spirit, right? You're not yelling. We're not yelling and screaming at one another and going off on a tangent. None of that. None of that. We're being courteous. We're talking in a normal talking voice and just kind of going from there, right? Let me give you the second thing, and I'm gonna give you a couple more examples. The second thing is that showing mutual respect, right? Just showing respect for people. This is kindness. When you show respect for their time, for their effort, for the work that they're doing. You show respect of their personal values and their personal beliefs, right? I want to use my girlfriend. I actually have a girlfriend who's a Muslim, right? She's a Muslim, but I still show kindness towards her. And one of the ways I do that is I show respect towards her. Although she has total, you know, her values and beliefs, and her religion obviously is different than mine, I still respect her religion. How do I do that? I do that by, you know, even when we've had her in our telesummits. When DetourMovement do telesummits for Fabulous I Am, she's been featured in that telesummit, right? Because she is known for helping women to heal, right? The whole body. So if she has something that's going to benefit this community, I'm not going to withhold that just because she's of a different faith, because she's not going to speak anything against God. You know what I mean? She's going to do stuff that's still going to help you to be the best version of you and to help you to be with everything that God's called you to be. So I show kindness by showing mutual respect. And the third thing is, you can show kindness by caring, by just showing that you care. What does that look like? So when somebody, let's say if somebody had a death in their family, you show them you care. You show them you care by sending them a card, going by and visiting them. In South Carolina, people like to bring tons and tons of soda and food. That's how you show that you care, right? Now, you see here when I talk about this has nothing to do with how much you're doing for other people, how many favors you're doing for other people. That's not necessarily showing kindness. You know what I mean? You got to be careful with that. I'm not saying that we don't give. I'm not saying that you don't do favors for people, but I'm saying you only do that when you have the time, energy, and resources. Now, if you never have the time, energy, or resources to serve other people, then that needs to be looked at too, because we, as the body of Christ, we're not supposed to be selfish. Our motives shouldn't just, everything in our life shouldn't just revolve about what we're doing and just be so focused and in the corner about our life that we don't have time to pour into other people. We don't have time to serve other people, because we have been called to serve, right? Even Christ said that I didn't come here to serve. I didn't come here to be served, but to serve. So we have to just kind of take inventory and have what people say balance, but I like to say harmony in our lives, that there's some seasons that we will be able to support and love on people, and then some seasons you won't. Like, say for example, when I was taking my MBA, and I did that for over 2 years, I didn't have a lot of extra capacity to serve other people, especially talking about doing favors and running around. I just didn't have that capacity. Can you touch on the difference of giving out of sacrifice and giving by doing too much? Okay, I can touch on that. So when you're talking about giving out of sacrifice versus giving out of doing too much. So to me, like I mentioned, if you're giving if you're giving, to me, you should be giving because you can and because you really want to. And anytime you give, it should be because you shouldn't be looking for anything in return. I don't care if you're giving to the church. I don't care if you're giving to a friend. You know, you shouldn't give with the expectation that I'm giving to get. I call that the giver's game. When you're giving something and your whole point behind giving it is that you will get something in return. We do this all the time, y'all. You know, at least I know I used to do this all the time, even in relationships, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. For example, I would, be cooking and cleaning and running favors, and I was hoping to, in return, to secure a relationship from that. That's not a good place to give. Don't give out of place of, I need something or I want something. You should give because you say, I appreciate this person and I'm going to give this. And even if I get nothing in return, then I'm okay because I'm sowing this because I know it's being sown on good ground. I just want to show my gratitude. So you have to keep that in mind. And sometimes when you find yourself always doing something, you got to be careful because you don't want to feel like you don't want the other person to feel like they're in debt to you when you've given so much. And the opposite is true. When somebody's given to you so much, you got to be careful. Especially, I was saying relationships, all of that matters. You don't want somebody to give to you so much that you feel like you're in debt and you owe them something. So it's a fine line, and I'm probably going to a whole nother scope talking about the whole elements behind giving and how does that work, when you're receiving gifts, how much is it appropriate to receive versus giving? Yeah, that can go. I don't know I hope that answers your question. I hope that answers your question, but you just have to be mindful. And you guys know I always like to plug in things for the singles to help you guys out. So if I have any singles on the scope, I just want to say, even in your dating relationship, be mindful of how much you give and how much you allow somebody to give to you. Right? Because you don't want to feel like you owe that person anything as a result of what they've done for you. So you need to set those boundaries and expectations because it's so easy. I'm telling you, it's a real thing where, when people give you something, you have a natural inclination to want to give back. It's a real thing. People use it in business all the time. People use it in personal relationships all the time. So again, we don't want to, be like Eve or even how, being easily deceived. We want to have a discerning spirit and really be mindful, not just going about the day and not even thinking. We got to be mindful. So I think that's all the notes I had. I don't know if anybody else had any questions or comments before I jump off the scope. I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. So I pray this has been helpful to somebody. If you know somebody who sometimes get caught up in being too nice, share the scope with them and share some of the tips I share with you and let them know there's a difference between being too nice and showing kindness. We can be kind by speaking in a proper tone. We can be kind by showing mutual respect. We can be kind by caring. That needs to be your next scope. Are you talking about giving, the whole giving part of it? What needs to be next scope? Because I may do it on Joe. Because I could have really did this on Joe Bullock, or I could do it on DetourMovement. I decided to do it on DetourMovement this morning. What about giving at churches? Giving at churches. Okay, you guys want to talk about giving. I'm going to answer this question. Maybe I will do a scope on giving. So, giving at church. Again, I would say, when we go into the whole tithing thing. What I believe is, in the book of Malachi, the Word of God does talk about giving. Right? And it says that you need to bring all your tithes into the storehouse, so there will be meat in my house. Right? So, God talks about that. Now, the thing that we always have to remember, where does it say it in the Bible? Is it in the Old Testament or the New Testament? Because in the Old Testament, we were under the law. In the New Testament, we're under grace, right? So in the Old Testament, it's good principles to live by, but I don't think you won't go to hell if you don't tithe, because we're not under law. You're under grace, right? That's what the coming of Christ was, to put you under grace. So it's important to understand that. So what I would say, I think the 10% in the whole 10% is a good measure of what to give. And also there's a principle of your first fruit, right? Your first and best fruit. So giving your first. So that's a separate principle. And it's important to say, okay, what I get first, I'm going to give back to God. So the thing is that you have to remember is to give your best, right? Give your best. And God knows what your best is. Now, if you're in a season, that your blessing is not tied to how much you give outside of the tithes and offering, but it is tied to your obedience. I believe that. I believe that. I receive that. You know what I mean? But let's be clear. I'm not saying don't give. I think you should give. The church needs us to give in order to sustain itself, right? So that's so important. But you need to give based on, like I said, sacrificial offering. Sometimes you do have to make a sacrifice. Like I said, if you never have anything to give, or you never are able to do anything, then you may need to take assessment. But sometimes you're just in a hard spot If you are unemployed and you barely have money for food, give proportion to what you have. You still can give 10%, but if you're only making $150 a month, you would give 15 back to the church. If you can do that, or give 5 or get 10. Give the best that you can. You know what I mean? I think about so much when we're having this discussion. Even I'm thinking about Cain and Abel, when they were given to God, and one of the brothers didn't give a decent sacrifice. God was like, what is this? So it depends on where you are, is how it's going to be viewed. If you're making $100,000 and you're giving God like $500 a year, I think you're under giving. That's just my opinion. I don't think God would be happy with that. Now, if you make $100,000 a year, in theory, you should be able to give $10,000 to the church or $5,000 to the church. So, you know what I'm saying? And I think God would be pleased with that. But again, if you're making $100,000 and you getting $500, I don't think so. Now, let's say, okay, you saying I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like I said, if you were making a lot less, you would give proportion to what you're making. And if you give out of your heart and you give your best, God will honor that. I can't think of the lady name in the Bible, but this was a lady in the Bible. Absolutely. There was a lady in the Bible who had, I wish I remember her name. That was the last woman that we studied on week like 45 or 47 of the woman in the Bible. And she had she just had a couple of coins. And she gave God all she had. She made a sacrifice and she gave God all she had. So in that case, God blessed her above and beyond, and he was more pleased with her sacrifice of giving her few pennies or her few coins than he was of that person who gave the 10,000 and who had made, or who gave the whatever 20,000 and they made $100,000. So God is really looking for your heart, and you just have to have a discerning spirit. Like I said, you're not giving your money. To me, I don't think you should give your money for your food. If you only got $50 for groceries and you got 2 kids, that's my opinion. You need to get that money, and you need to buy your groceries. Yeah, you can put something in church, but you're not going to be putting $25 in church. If you got $50 and that's the only money you got for groceries, you're not putting $25 in church. You will be putting like $5. You know what I'm saying? So again, the whole principle behind tithing, I think, is a great principle. You give proportion to what you have. God will honor it. Give your first fruit. God will honor it. And just kind of go from there. And that's pretty much what I got to say. But even be careful, because sometimes at church, people hang around church folks to try to prey on church people to give. And you just have to have the discerning spirit. I'm most times when people ask me to give, I give. God honors your sacrifice. Yes. Most times, whether I'm at church or wherever, if people ask me to give, I usually will give it to them. And I don't get too caught up in their motives. I say, you know what? God is going to handle their motives. If they're asking me for money for the wrong reasons, God's going to take care of that. I'm not going to get caught up in, is this person going to do right by the money? Now, sometimes I will give them what they need. Like the guy with the gas, I was just going to give him gas, and I was going to give him money. He didn't know that. But, you just have to be discerning. Be led by the Spirit. Yeah, you have to be led by the Spirit. You know what I mean? And people will show you and reveal themselves. Even like with that guy with the gas. He out there running. After I say going to help you and your wife and kid, you running. Why you running? Because you was lying. You ain't need no gas. Yes, not pay bills. I got it. But if you don't have it, it's okay. Right. And like I said, if you only got $50, give 5. Give 1. Give what you can. You know what I'm saying? But give out your heart and just give because you're thankful. Pretty much give because you're thankful. I think it's always something that you always can give something, unless you're just flat broke. You always can give something, even if it's 10 cents. If you got $1, you can give 10 cents. And I think that's the whole principle behind tithing and the, first fruit is not, you don't have to give God everything. And to me, if you're in a church, I ain't gonna talk about another church, but I'm just gonna say, be careful when you hear people say, if you only have $100 and they want you to give that whole $100, I don't believe that's God. I love you guys. Much needed word for today. Yes. So again, if you only got $100 and somebody's telling you to give that only last $100, I don't believe that's what God's calling you to do, especially if you need that money for food and water. That's just me. But I think he would want you to give $5 or $10. Yeah. And expect that. So I hope this is blessing somebody. But y'all, I got to go to my investor. It's been good scoping with you guys. Please connect with us on our Facebook group. Many of you already are. Good morning, Dia. I didn't tell you good morning this morning. And anybody else I forgot, good morning. Please connect with us on our Facebook group. I told him the guys was probably lying, but you're accountable for what you do. Yeah. Yeah, you never know. You can't. I don't got time to be trying to figure out motives. I really don't. I'm led by the Spirit, and if it feels right, you know what I'm saying, I'll go with it. You know, but I will walk forth in wisdom. I will walk forth in wisdom, right? Connect with us at DMI Fabulous I Am members on Facebook. If you're a Facebooker, I know I got some Facebookers on here. Connect with us. Follow this scope, first of all. Make sure you're following the scope, DMI, the scope. And my sister and many others, Treal and many others, Toya, we're going to have Morgan Cox, and so many others are going to be scoping here, Kay Elizabeth. So you want to check it out every morning around this time we try to do between 6:30 and 8:30. So connect with us on that. Also, D is putting SOS. So Save Our Sons and Sisters, right? They also have a scope. If you're a parent and or a youth leader, or you're passionate about the things of youth, go over to SOS, Saving Our Sons, and follow their scope. They also have a 21-day challenge that's ending today, so you want to check that out. So that's pretty much it. If you also, I guess I could tell you about my book. This is the last day for this challenge. The Biggest Lies Women Believe About Men, Dating, and Themselves. Discovering the Truth of Fabulous Life and Relationship. This is a book I wrote. It's an awesome book. I encourage you to grab your copy. You can grab a copy at jillbullock.com, JILLBULLUCK.com. If you think you believe lies, have any type of negative thoughts or misperceptions, or sometimes just need some more reassurance of who you are in Christ, or have had a pattern of unhealthy relationships, then read this book. Thank you, ladies, for saying this book is awesome. Bless you, bless you, bless you. For all my 21-day challengers, I'm gonna do double scope today because my scope last night was really tripping. So I'm going to do another scope today, and you will be receiving your final email congratulating you on completing the challenge. So anyway, I love you guys so much. God loves you best. Stay connected. Stay connected. Community is everything. It's so important that we stay connected to one another. And I just feel so blessed and honored that you guys give us the space to serve you and connect with you. So also, last thing, Brunch and Brandon. Sign up our Brunch and Brandon if you haven't already on January 30th in Charleston, South Carolina. It is going to be thebomb.com. Thebomb.com. So love you all.